But anyway, like I was saying, our second article kind of is just the continuation of the crusade against LGBTQ rights, specifically trans right, and this whole scare that's been inflamed by these sick, opportunistic governors like Ron DeSantis, the governor in Texas, and all of these just slimy lawmakers, man. You already see we got a bunch of fucking quirked up white boys over here. Real pissed off, bro. Look at this, man. All right, we're going to get into it. So this article comes from the New York Times and is by Ava Sassani. Virginia reverses school protections for transgender students. In a move that could further inflame the debate over how to handle transgender rights in schools, Virginia will no longer allow students to use facilities marked for the gender they identify with, and will mandate that they file legal documents if they wish to be called by different pronouns. Those directives were among several guidelines for schools that the Virginia Department of Education announced on Friday, in a reversal of transgender policies that the state outlined last year. The guidelines, or model policies, released by the administration of Governor Glenn Youngkin, a Republican, also say that schools must keep parents fully informed about all matters related to a child's health and social and psychological development, and that schools may not encourage or instruct teachers to conceal material information about a student from the student's parent, including information related to gender. So I'm of the opinion that we look at children. A lot of people look at children like they aren't human beings, man. I can understand taking some form of control of your child's life, so they don't end up in like terrible situations and doing things that, fuck them up permanently for life. But I also think that we need to realize that they're human beings who have their own agencies and should be able to decide some things for themselves, especially their identity, man. That's one of the most important parts of psychological development as a child, is being able to express yourself. Not being able to express yourself and being shamed for who you are leads to people doing stuff like this in the world where they were denied the ability to be who they are and told that who they are is inadequate or wrong or immoral. So some of these people bury that deep within themselves and they confuse that anger and hatred for not being able to be who they want to be and that repression as hatred of people who are able to express themselves in the world despite that hatred. And then on the flip side, you have people who, end up committing suicide and self-harming over policies like this. And it's over something just so stupid, man. Like, the greatest way to shut down discourse like this is just asking someone who believes in bullshit like this and, like, keeping trans people out of, the restrooms and spaces that they identify with is, well, some people are gay, some people are lesbians. It doesn't mean like the gay people are in there, looking over, trying to look at your dick and fucking fondle you, man. Like, the fact of the matter is there's creeps in every demographic, and like the studies show that, trans people are no more likely to commit sex acts or sex crimes than any other demographic. And who's the most likely to be pedophiles and sex offenders? You guessed it, it's white men. The people who are most ardently against this freedom of expression. So a lot of repression, a lot of projection going on here, boys. You already know. Yeah. Right. The guideline. Let me just reread this part. The guidelines or model policies released by the administration of Governor Glenn Youngkin, a Republican, also say that schools must keep parents fully informed about all matters related to a child's health and social psychological development, and that schools may not encourage or instruct teachers to conceal material information about a student from the student's parent, including information related to gender. The guidelines also say that school personnel will not be required to address or refer to a student in any manner that would run counter to employees' personal or religious beliefs. The reversal builds on Mr. Youngkin's promises during his campaign for governor. The 2022 model policy posted delivers on the governor's commitment to preserving parental rights and upholding the dignity and respect of all public school students. Except they're doing the exact opposite. They're taking away the dignity of trans people and non-binary people so bigots can feel a little bit safer. So they can have a safe space, but the people who are actually vulnerable get left out to dry, you know? Yeah. Democrats and LGBTQ activists say the policy poses a clear harm to transgender children, including forcing educators to disclose a child's gender identity to parents. That's obviously going to lead to harm, man. Some children, their only safe place is school with their peers, so they are able to express themselves. And we have a lot of parents with just fucked up, backwards ideas of the world, and they punish their children for not having those old attitudes, man. You know, that's gonna increase child homelessness among, you know, the LGBT community. It's gonna, like I said, lead to self-harm and suicide. Man, the goal of our society should be to limit as much pain and suffering and expand on human happiness as much as possible, instead of just doing this fascist bullshit, man. And that's exactly what it is. I know people like me, soy boy cucks, love to bring up fascism, but it's on the rise, bro. I'm telling you. And it's gonna get worse before it gets better. I do think it's gonna get better, but buckle up, boys. We're in for a rough ride. Trans kids deserve to learn and thrive in an environment free of bullying, intimidation, and fear, Mike Mullen, a Democratic member of the State House of Delegates, said on Twitter on Friday. That means being addressed as who they are and supported for who they will be, especially from their teachers and their administrators. He's exactly right, man. Community support saves lives, and taking away that support ends lives. It's as simple as that. The Education Department's move comes after a wave of legislation in several states over the past 2 years limiting the rights and protections of transgender children at school. But the announcement on Friday stood out in part because it overturned policies instituted just last year by Mr. Youngkin's predecessor, Ralph Northam, a Democrat. I also want to add that the right wing feel like they've been losing for a long time because they are the minority in the country, right? So instead of presenting their case and their ideology in the marketplace of ideas, as they love to shout about, they subvert that. They subvert the will of most people in America to enact this bullshit, bro. They're liars and they're projectors. And they're just angry little weirdos, man, who don't want to let people live their lives, you know? I hate to say it, but the sooner the freaking boomers and some of Gen X just dies out when I'm like 60 years old, bro, the world's going to be a better place. I'm sorry, man. People who are older didn't have access to the information that we did, and they were blasted with propaganda 24/7, man, and a lot of them are just too far gone, you know? The price of progress, I guess, you know?